Good evening. Welcome to Good Guys Sports. I'm Jackson Gerke, alongside our co-hosts Blake Gerke and Mike Roby. Great to be all with you today in our show, as well as Blake Lumberger, who will be joining us shortly. We will get to our others. We will get to college football and NFL in a moment, but we're going to start with the World Series that nobody saw coming. The Diamondbacks come from behind and beat the Phillies.
Wow.
Yeah, tell me about it. They go and quiet the crowd at Citizens Bank Park and beat the Phillies in 7 games. They did it in dramatic fashion, and they just they find ways to win. And at one point, the Phillies had the lead in Game 6, but then somehow blew it, and just and all of a sudden those D-backs of Arizona just came out of nowhere and just kept on fighting for another day, and they just showed no quit on this team, and then that was where they forced a winner take all Game 7. The D-backs just somehow stuck in and just and got more hits than the Phillies in that game, and just kept on fighting and kept they were definitely still in it, and they lived for another day, and that was where things just took a lot of pressure on the Phillies, where they got some hits and they had the lead at one time, but then the D-back just kept on, showed no quit up on this Clipper team. Players like Corbin Corvell and Christian Walker and those guys just kept hitting the ball and hit more home runs, getting more hits and scoring more runs in each category, and that's part of the reason why part of why they found a way to bounce back in these games, which they always do. You go back to the Milwaukee series, they always think in to find ways to win. And they always find a way to win. That's part of why they're still in it. And yeah, they just kept finding ways to win, which we now move to. We now move towards to the American League Series Championship, where the
Well, no, I want to hang on a second. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
We gotta talk more about the D-backs and the Phillies, because
yeah
there was a lot of talking going on from Philadelphia about how once the team in red from Philadelphia got past the Braves and they got up on the Diamondbacks early, I believe.
Well, they peaked. They peaked in the first
3-1?
couple games, and then they just tanked. I mean, the last 2 games, Schwab, Harper, and Turner went 1 for 20.
Yeah, it's remarkable.
Neither Harper or Turner got any hits in Game 6 and 7. And if you want to throw Nick Castilla in there, who tied a record for hitting 5 home runs in the first couple games, went 0 for nothing in the last 2 games. So those 4 players went 1 for 28 in the last 2 games. I mean, you know, that was, to me, that was the they got cold in a hurry.
Yeah, it's crazy how quickly the way they were hitting the ball versus the Braves series, you thought they were going to walk their way to a World Series championship, because they were hitting everything they were throwing, and then all of a sudden, they halfway through this series against Arizona, like you said, the bats went from completely cold. So you would have thought if they just maintained some sort of middle level of that, I mean, maybe they weren't going to hit the ball as well as they did against Atlanta the entire playoffs, but yeah, I mean, let's face it, they collapsed. They should have won this series given the way they performed against Atlanta. They just needed some production from their hitters, and Bryce Harper again, World Series is eluding him.
I mean, the first 2 games, the Phillies outscored the D-backs 15-3. But in the last 2 games, the D-backs outscored them 9-3.
I mean, you have to believe there's some sort of,
It's very much the opposite bookends.
I mean, there's some sort of mentality there where it seems like Philadelphia really thought they were on the beach in terms of getting past Arizona. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, baseball is a weird sport like that, right?
It is. Well, when you can't keep pointing to your ring until you get it.
Well, I mean, not to sound like, be the salty losers here because we lost to them, but they were doing a lot of talking for a team that hadn't even won their respective league yet.
Yeah.
So fair play. They beat us pretty handily in the divisional series, but let's make sure we at least win a pennant before we
Yeah.
start talking like we're getting ready to plan our parade, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And they got a couple free agents coming up. Nola, a free agent. Rias Hoskins is the free agent. So they gotta have some decisions to make in the offseason.
Guys, it looks like second place is where you want to be. You want to finish second in your division, and you got a good shot at making the World Series, right? You don't want to finish first.
Yeah, it seems that way.
It definitely seems like there's a trend in baseball where teams that go all out and win close to 100 games don't necessarily automatically replicate that form in playoffs.
The Braves won 20 more games than the D-backs. But the D-backs won the pennant.
It's crazy, yeah. I mean, I wonder if they should even, like, if they don't have divisions and just have the top seeded team.
Did you write your letter to the commissioner yet there?
Yeah, I'm like halfway through it actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just doing a few spell checks.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. It's weird because, like, on one hand, it's like fun to see Arizona and like Tex. I mean, to be fair, I would have preferred this World Series and then the exact same one we got last year. But like from a national audience perspective and like what the MLB, what the commissioner wants, I'll have to make an addendum to my letter asking him how he feels about Arizona Diamondbacks versus Texas Rangers World Series because it's not like the biggest names. So
talk about parity in baseball.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's kind of underrated how much parity there is in the playoffs nowadays.
Well, both teams won games 6 and 7 on the road.
The
Astros pulled a 2019. They didn't win any home games. They lost all 4 games at home.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, it seems like Texas was the team that was able to replicate their form from the previous series the best. In terms of they obviously crushed Baltimore, and they seem to be the exception to the rule that the Phillies couldn't replicate in terms of keeping up that sort of offensive production in the CS.
Yeah.
So yeah, fair play to Texas. They made some big acquisitions this offseason, and to be fair, a lot of the big acquisitions they made weren't really even the reason in terms of the pitchers they brought in. It was ended up being more so the offense that carried them to the World Series, right?
I mean, I was reading an article and the writer was saying the worst things the Astros did was to plunk Garcia in Game 6 or Game 5.
Right.
Yeah.
They were very motivated.
Yeah. That Game 5 scuffle going like to what was some sort of like a fighting or
skirmish
or against each other, which is going to be like some like they were like exchanging some like not so nice words to each other, kind of thing.
Yeah, and then Garcia goes back to Houston. I mean, Altuve had that walk-off, or not the walk-off, but a 3-run shot in the top of the 9th to win Game 6 for the Astros. But then Garcia goes down to Houston, hits 3 home runs, drives in 9 runs. That's just clobbered him.
Crazy.
So
it seems like in terms of like major like U.S. sports that have the most fluctuation and variability in postseason, it seems like of the 4 major sports, baseball playoffs ends up producing, at least the last couple of years, the most random matchups. And like I guess you could say like the NCAA March Madness tournament would be somewhat comparable because it seems like NFL, NBA and NHL, like there is some upsets in the NHL, like we saw last year with Boston, but I think for the most part, like you never have a team like that. I don't know. Maybe hockey's a little bit different, but like compared to NBA and NFL, it seems like the teams that end up winning the World Series the past couple of years have never been the best team in the regular season.
Yeah.
So it's interesting
Well,
trend for sure.
Yeah, whoever wins this year we're going to have a new a new champion that we've had in the last 10 years.
Yeah, and I
if
think
the
from
ra-
that respect, it is refreshing not having
Yeah.
Texas. I mean, not having Houston, LA, Boston, you know, coming in as a champion
Yeah.
is
And
definitely
the
a nice
Rangers
change.
have never won a World Series.
Interesting. Yes, the Rangers have never won a World Series, and unless I'm mistaken, the Diamondbacks haven't been back to the World Series since they last won it in 2001. Is that correct?
That is, yeah, that's correct.
So safe
And
to say
they
something
won
has to
in
give.
Game 7 in 2001 against the
That was a
against the
crazy
Yankees.
that was a crazy World Series as well, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, they had Randy Johnson on the mound. D-backs did.
The big unit.
Back in 2001. But
Interesting. Yeah. So I guess maybe should we give some predictions before the series starts on tomorrow night is game 1, right?
yeah.
I'm gonna roll with the hot hand, and I'm gonna pick Texas. I think they showed me that they could replicate their offensive form in between the divisional series and the championship series. So I'm not gonna bet against that in the World Series. I think it'll be Texas Rangers in 6 games.
Snakes in 7.
Ooh. Now
Marta will be
Texas
the MVP.
has home
He'll
field.
be the MVP.
Oh, you think Marte?
Marte, yeah, he'll be the MVP. And Carroll hit the game-winning RBI in Game 7.
You better place a wager on that.
The Roby trifecta.
Yeah. So does Texas have home field though?
Texas has home field advantage because they have the better record.
Okay. It's not a huge advantage given what we saw the past 2 series, right?
It's definitely not. Was not an advantage for either the Astros or the Phillies.
Yeah, so that isn't the reason I'm picking Texas. I'm just picking them because I feel like their bats are just too hot to go against right now.
Yeah. Well, and they probably have the edge in starting pitching.
So we think Scherzer is going to start one of these games, right?
He is, but he's not the reason why I say. I think between Montgomery and what's it?
Evaldi, yeah, Nathan Evaldi.
Yeah, between those two,
he's been great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Evaldi's been lights out.
Guys, this is a pretty scientific reason why I'm going to choose Texas as always. But a couple of things. There's a saying, and it goes a little bit something like this: "Don't mess with Texas." Okay. So, and then there's another saying called "You got to cut the head off the snake to beat them." And if I know my Texas citizens well, they got a lot of cowboy boots, proving that they have cut the heads off of many snakes. And for that reason, the Texas Rangers winning. Very scientific, like I said.
Yeah.
Very
I like it.
I'm sticking with my answer backs.
Jackson, what are you predicting here?
I'm right with you, Blake. I am gonna
Jackson, which one?
I've got Texas in 6.
Oh, you going with Brother Blake then? Okay, got it.
Yeah,
okay.
so we got 3 Texas and 1 Arizona, so that makes me a little nervous. Now I feel like Uncle Mike's gonna be have the last laugh here, but I guess we'll see.
Well, Blake, I gotta stick with the National League.
Is that because my answer was so database that you're a little nervous that 3 of us picked it?
I mean, it's definitely not a helpful factor, but no, I think I like both sides of the argument. I like the database and the gut. You know, sometimes you got to go with the gut.
Dude. Quick question: are they the Diamondbacks as in copperheads or rattlesnakes?
Rattlesnakes.
Jack, why don't you show the picture on your left sleeve there of the snake? We can take a look at it. No, on your left sleeve, you see the snake?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that looks like a copperhead, right?
Ooh.
It's intimidating.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But a Diamondback would be a rattler.
Oh, it's a
Copperhead,
rattlesnake.
Copperheads don't have
Okay, yeah. As you can tell, I don't know my reptiles particularly well, so my apologies to all the
sorry.
reptile heads out there.
They're all snakes. Don't get close to them.
Yeah, that's all you need to know, right?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So hey, you know what? I think it'll be a nice, refreshing World Series to see some new faces in the Fall Classic. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. What's next on our rundown here, Jack?
All right, so let's get into some college football now, and then we'll talk some NFL a little later. But
So before you do that, Jack, I got a shout out to Dr. L. He wasn't on last week, but he predicted Stanford beating Colorado the other week.
That's right. Yeah.
So congratulations on that
Congrats,
upset
BL.
prediction.
And it happened in a crazy fashion. I read stories about fans leaving the game because it was such a blowout. Colorado was blowing them out so bad they just left the game. And then how about Stanford making a crazy comeback?
Yeah.
And then Miami
it ain't over until it's over.
Yeah,
that's
that
right.
game
And I
was
mentioned
crazy.
Miami might beat Clemson, and I think that happened as well, right? Did they overtook Clemson?
Yeah. Miami did beat Clemson by a touchdown.
When's the last time? I think that's the fourth loss for Clemson, if I'm not mistaken.
They're
I don't know when
Clemson
the
is 4-3.
Wow.
4-3. Okay, so they got 3 losses.
Yeah, they got 4-3. You got UNC with 5-2. No, I'm sorry. Duke is 5-2, and UNC is 6-1 in the ACC.
And UNC got beat by who this past week?
By UVA, Virginia, of all teams.
Wow.
In Chapel Hill.
Goodness me. Yeah,
they must have been napping or went out on Friday night and partied too hard. Man.
Yeah, they must have gone on Franklin Street Friday night. Yeah. That's interesting. The ACC is certainly we have a much less clear picture than we did a few weeks ago, apart from Florida State being undefeated.
Is it called Mike's Not Here?
He's not here. Yeah, that's
he's
like the
not
big
here. Not
UNC.
Mike's not here. He's not here. Okay.
Yeah. Although I'm sure Mike's been there before though.
Okay.
Someone
Not
named
that
Mike
I
anyway.
remember.
Someone anyway. Yeah.
Well, Clemson's at NC State this weekend, and I think they're both 4-3.
Yeah, there's a lot of, but with Clemson not being traditional powerhouse that we know, it opened the door for a couple teams to sneak into a better bowl game this year. Yeah.
Is that Louisville?
Points, and they're at home, obviously.
Yeah.
And we saw what they did to Notre Dame at home, right, a couple weeks ago. So you definitely don't want to take the Cardinal for granted in that situation. To be fair, Florida State last week, they kept it pretty tight in the first half. They didn't. They held their ground. They didn't get too overwhelmed, but like happens with most away games versus
they had to lead at halftime.
Traditional power. Yeah, exactly. And then, maybe predictably they kind of ran out of steam in the second half, and the atmosphere and the occasion kind of got to them. But I still think Duke is a really good team, and they should deserve to make a good bowl game.
How was Riley Leonard re-injured his right ankle in that game last week?
I'm not sure what his status is right now. We'll have to check on that. But if he's not available, that's certainly a big factor to the way that game will pan out.
Yeah. I mean, Florida State scored 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. So, for 3/4 of the game, Duke was right in there with them.
I know. Yeah. I can't tell how good Florida State, maybe they're a national champion contender, or maybe the ACC is a bit kind of all over the place this year, so we can't necessarily tell. They did have a good wins against LSU earlier in the year, but
I think they're still ranked number 4.
I believe they are 4, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the big there's not too many huge in terms of like ranked matchups this week, Jackson, right? I think College Game Day is going to be.
I'll get to it in a second, but I want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I want to get to one of the topics of this subject for this for the sport is that the one I want to touch on is college football source Army approved to join the AAC for football. You have any reaction and thoughts about Army joining the American Legion Alliance for their for football as they leave their old conference, and want to get your guys' reaction to that?
They're joining the American Athletic Conference, you said, or?
Yes.
I mean, I don't think it's going to be a huge change. I think Army and Navy are still kind of who they are. They're not going to start recruiting like 5-star cornerbacks or receivers or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, listen, it's good for the cadets. I've got nothing but respect for Army football. So I hope the move works out well for them. I know there's a lot of conference realignment going on. So yeah, why should Army get in on it?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, both Army and Navy, they got one game they have to win every year. And that's a spectacle. I went to an Army Navy game when I was a kid.
And did it finish 17-3 and there was 5 total passes in the game?
The Army won by a touchdown that day.
Okay.
It was up in Philadelphia at the old JFK Stadium.
Oh yeah. That's a funky conference. I'm looking at the teams. You know, you've got some cool. So you got a Cincinnati team that's done really well in football. You got Houston, who's had a couple of really good seasons in football. That's a funky little conference. East Carolina's in there. You know, South Florida, I think, is going to end up being a powerhouse in football. A lot of talent down there. A lot of big money down there. That's a funky conference. I like it.
Yeah, that's kind of the conference that, like, I don't want to say it's like it's like basically like the 6th conference where it's all these like random teams that you've heard of that out from a different conference. Like if you remember a couple of years ago, that's I think is Central Florida in that conference, or they used to be, maybe back when they were undefeated and they were trying to make their case for the college football playoff. I think they might not be in that conference anymore. But
right,
yeah,
they are in there.
They are in there, for sure. Are they, Central Florida in there?
As well.
Yeah. So that's kind of been the conference that tries to make their case. I think like 2 years ago that was, maybe, or it might have even been last year when they made the playoffs. But yeah, that's an interesting conference. And obviously with conference realignment, you kind of just had to position yourself where you think is most beneficial going forward. But Jack, I saw on the schedule is this week is the Georgia-Florida game, right?
That's right. That's actually the matchup that I want to get to now.
AKA in recent years, the bloodbath.
Yeah, the world's largest. Oh, I can't say it on the air. Just I want to call it outdoor party, which is what they
Clearwater party.
On there. Yeah, right.
Family friendly, Jackson.
Down there in Jacksonville, where the game always takes place every year. I look at this matchup, and Georgia is a 8.52 point favorite against Florida. However, they are missing their top tight end Brock Bowers. If you look at one of their games, they're not the same team without Brock Bowers, because they're just not, the team's not the same without him in his place, because he is one of their dynamic duo playmakers for this team, and it's a really scary situation if you're a Georgia fan. But I do think but I wouldn't push a panic button on them yet, because Mike Bobo should be their replacement for in place for Broward, which I think could be could make a statement and could still get the advantage for Georgia if their next man up players can stay healthy, which I do think Georgia will still I say Georgia will still win this game despite Bauer's absent. And I think that against Florida's passing game, which could be interesting. But I think Georgia should still be but I think Georgia should still be able to win this game, despite that. It's probably going to be a close game. I think Florida's going to keep things close as much as they can. It's just going to be too much Georgia, and I think it might not be this week, but one of these weeks Georgia will lose a game down the road. But I don't think it'll be against this team. But you never know. But I'm sticking with Georgia. I think they'll win this game by let's say 38-13. My final score. Georgia wins in Jacksonville. You still have you got Carson Beck, Damian Edwards, and those guys, and Florida can play too. But I'm sticking with Georgia, and I think they're going to win this game by a decent score.
Yeah, I agree. That scoreline sounds about right to me. I think this game hasn't really been competitive for a couple of years, given Florida's recent struggles and Georgia's obviously ascendance into the best team in the country over the past couple of years. So, yeah, I mean, I think Georgia should win by at least 2 touchdowns in this one. Maybe Florida keeps it close for the first quarter. It gives the Gator fans something to cheer about, so they don't have to feel too crappy. But yeah, no, I think UGA will handle them pretty heavily.
I think the Dogs will just outlast them. And,
I think the one thing that surprises me about this is the spread. I thought the spread would have been higher in this. Jack, you said it was 8.5?
I think it's actually 14. I think it's actually 14.5, Jack.
Oh, okay. That makes
Georgia's favored by 14.5 in this one, yeah.
These games make me nervous, man. This is a neutral territory. I think for years, even though it's as Jackson would say, it's famous for being the world's largest Clearwater party. I think both teams have been kind of arguing that, hey, we want to start going home and home. They want to get rid of this location because it serves neither one of them a home field advantage. And so I don't know, neutral ground, these games always make me nervous. There's going to be a ton of fans. Is that where game day is going to be, by the way?
I think no, game day will be in.
Well, I do know that the other pregame show, SEC Nation, will take place there, led by Paul Feinbaum, Tim Tebow, Jordan Rogers, and among others who will be there. But as for game day, Blake has yet to be determined on what Blake.
No, it's game day will be in Utah, Jackson, for the Utah versus Oregon game.
Oh, right. So that's
how you can tell it's kind of not a great week of college football because those are 2 teams with 1 losses. So it's not a great week, to be fair.
Are we going for beautiful locations when it's not a great week? I mean, I can imagine that location is going to be stunning.
I feel like they try to get to Utah at least once a year. It seems like, because they're always pretty good, and it's like you said, it's a nice part of the country, very scenic. So
it's not ski season yet.
True. You can at least admire some of the mountain views.
We got about another month to go for ski season.
Not too far away, are we?
No, I've skied in outside of Salt Lake many times. It's beautiful country. The University of Utah sits up on a hill overlooking Salt Lake City, and it's surrounded by mountains.
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful campus. but I got Oregon in that game.
I agree. I think Oregon, Oregon probably feel pretty hard done to be out of the playoff picture, given they I think their loss for the Washington game was pretty close, right?
It was very close. Yeah.
Came down to the wire. So honestly, both those teams might be playoff worthy teams, but it's a competitive Pac-12 this year. USC kind of looking on the outside
for the last season.
Yeah, exactly. Before it disbanded, which is kind of ironic, isn't it? But the likes of USC and Utah, competitive teams with good players, looking on the outside in, but and then the whole Colorado storyline and stuff like that as well to add in there. But yeah, I think Oregon with Bo Nix, experienced quarterback, I think he'll be able to steady the ship and get the Ducks a win out there in Utah.
I agree. I too also have Oregon winning, and they're going to do it by a 2-touchdown lead, and I think they'll win this one by at least 2 touchdowns.
Okay, all right. The Ducks will roll, according to Jack.
All right.
So I know we touched upon the Duke game earlier a little bit, but I wanted to circle back to that. I am gonna be a fair weather or a fair weather fan and pick or I guess not fair weather, a biased fan and pick Duke in that game. I think it'll be really close. And I think I'm gonna take Duke by a field goal there. Louisville's favored at home by 4.5. I think it's gonna be kind of like a low scoring contest, and I think Duke will win it at the end by a field goal, but I can see that one going either way, to be honest, because I think Louisville is honestly a pretty solid team this year.
The only concern and problem I have about, well, he's active, but the only problem and issue I have about Riley Leonard is that whenever I watch his last few games, that's just a scary situation for any like Duke fans out there, where he went down hard on an injury and against FSU and Notre Dame, which is just hard to watch and just frightening to even look at, where Leonard was just wasn't being too cautious, and he wasn't really doing what he was supposed to, where he went down an injury. It's not his fault. It's just that he just went down hard on an injury, which he should have got better protection from his football team, but he just doesn't. And I think that's part of what just makes us so devastated and frightening for us Duke fans, for this. You feel bad for this kid and how he's worked hard for this, especially when his team was off to a great start. Now that he is active, but I'm just feeling a bit nervous after just putting him in the game when you're like this in pain, or just as much healthier is not, if you're not that much healthier, then I'm just going to be a bit more nervous about him starting him as quarterback in this game, especially when you're going against a talented team in your conference. I don't know if I really have faith in this Riley quarterback kid for the rest of this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are fair concerns, and yeah, obviously he's had a couple of injuries this year so far, and without him, Duke is a completely different team. So I think head coach Mike Elko will really have to find the balance between relying on his quarterback, relying on his star to kind of get Duke over the line, versus making sure he's healthy to finish out the season. Because you're right, he has picked up a few knocks this year, so we certainly don't want to see him put out there when he's not fully 100%. But I think the training and medical staff will be working hard tonight and tomorrow to assess Leonard and see where he goes. But obviously, if he's not the starter, then my pick will probably be changed there. But right now, it seems like he might he might be able to give it a go. But yeah, let's see. Let's see.
Only time will tell, and I think that's yet to be seen for how this game goes. But I think that if I were to predict this game, as much as I hate to say this, Blake, even though we are alums of our school and program, but I might lean towards Louisville in this one.
What?
Yeah, sorry, Blake.
No, I'm just kidding. I think I understand. I understand the pick, especially because it's away from home.
Yeah, yeah,
down there
yeah.
in KFC land. So
Yep,
yeah,
up Yum Land Stadium there, up in Louisville.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're not playing at home. You're on the road. You're in a hostile environment. You're dealing with your with your crowd there. That doesn't travel well enough for you, and I think that's doesn't really travel that great. So going against a Louisville crowd that's going to be in it, especially especially when the stadium gets fired up and going, and when this place is rocking there up in Louisville, that is where things are going to get a bit interesting. See how this one turns out, which is why I've got to go with Louisville in this one. So
Jack, are the Gamecocks going to beat the Aggies? Or should I say, are they going to upset the Aggies?
That's a great question. I don't think they will. I'm not even sure if this
especially away from home. That's in College Station. I don't see it.
I don't. Yeah, as much as I hate.
No. I'm blowing the whistle on that one. That's off.
I'm not feeling.
Everyone relax.
Yeah, I'm not feeling any confidence in this one, but
ain't happening.
Yeah, no chance. I don't think they're going to pull this one off against this hostile environment Aggies. They're just going to be all over the place, blitzing that quarterback and making those defensive plays. It's just going to be ugly. I just don't. Yeah. I agree, Blake. I don't really see this happening.
Now let me ask for that.
So my upset this week, Kentucky Wildcats will beat Tennessee.
Ooh, wow.
They're playing in Kentucky.
I like that. That's a bit of a rivalry game as well.
Yeah.
Talking about
that's a good
two teams that hate each other are going to be bad blood going at it.
Yeah, no, on the SEC, on the topic of SEC, I was going to ask if we think who's more likely to win or more likely to cover. Maybe would it be South Carolina away at Texas A&M, or would it be my team Vanderbilt away at Ole Miss? Because Vanderbilt is their Ole Miss is favored by a lot more against Vanderbilt than A&M is favored against South Carolina. So maybe you would say South Carolina is more likely to put up more of a fight there. Can't say I've been too impressed with the Commodores this season. So kind of the underbelly of the SEC there with South Carolina and Vanderbilt, unfortunately, this year.
Yeah, I'm looking at the matchup predictor. It's not even close. It is
not even close.
Huge spread for the Ole Miss Rebels.
Yeah, I'd say Ole Miss might be in for a shout of the college football playoffs this year as well. They got a pretty good team there under Lane Kiffin right now.
But if you're a Vanderbilt fan, and if you don't right now, you don't want to see this because they're not, because the ESPN director and
close your eyes
are not yet. Just look away. They're not giving you a chance to. And it's not even going to be.
I mean, you barely have a stadium right now, so you gotta
even a single point.
As soon
Yeah.
as the national anthem is done, so is the Commodores.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but
It's
they're
vacation.
rebuilding right now, you know. We're on the baseball season. Oh wait, that's not wait, what?
Hockey. You gotta
Jack,
get
should we move on
Hurricanes.
to the
Let's-
NFL?
Let's move on to the NFL in a second, but
We can do a little bit of hockey at the end if you
we
have
do
time
that,
too.
that's great that we talked the World Series, but now that Uncle Mike's sport is winding down, which is sad to see go. But I'm sure there's always next year, but sooner enough, when it cranks up again, you and Aunt Lori will start to go to Nationals games starting in 2024. It'll be here before you know it. I gotta believe it. But don't worry,
Yeah.
there's no need to be worried. It'll be here
They're
soon.
already charging for my tickets, though.
Well, great. Well,
I bet they are
well, no, well, right. Well, like I
prepaying for
said,
the hot dogs as well.
Well, no, not yet.
like I said, it'll be here. It will be here soon. Right around the corner. You just got to believe it'll be back here soon. But
Hey Jackson, don't count Mike out. He's a true fan. He's not even thinking about the his natties right now. He's dialed in to the World Series, not even thinking about the Nationals. And our tickets used to be $10 at RFK for the front row in the outfield. He's not even thinking about that. Hey guys, I got a funny comment about the baseball game. I did a little bit of research, and the field that Arizona Diamondbacks play at, I believe it's called Chase Field. I think it's named after a bank, possibly.
Yep.
And the cables, hey, they have determined that the cables are so unsafe when they open and close the field that if inclement weather rolled in, whether it got really hot, really cold during the game, or rain, they actually will not close the field or open it during a game because of the unsafeness of the cables, which is interesting.
Interesting.
Wow.
I imagine they're going to keep the roof open for all the games. Then I'm assuming it's still very warm in Arizona this time of year. So
it's funny because it's the desert, right? So they said they actually closed it for one of the games in the last series because it was so hot. But then I looked at the temperatures, and it's going to get down to the 60s and high 50s, and maybe some of the games coming up. So interesting desert temperatures out there.
Yeah.
yeah, Arizona does get very hot. So you do make a very great great point on this on the on the stadium and the surroundings of it. But you're right, it's going to be something to watch.
hey, Jack, I wanted to switch over to the NFL for a second and ask you about a couple matchups this week. I particularly was impressed with the Philadelphia Eagles last week in their victory at home against the Miami Dolphins, who are putting up a lot of points this season. So I personally, with the combination of an impressive Eagles victory last week versus and injury at the quarterback position for the San Francisco 49ers, where it looks like Brock Purdy is not going to be available this week in concussion protocol, it seems like the Eagles might be in pole position for the NFC right now.
Which is very true because
They got a tough. They have a tough competitor this week, though.
I know, but
Who, that little red and yellow team from DC?
yeah, well,
It's
Okay.
burgundy and gold.
okay, so let me
Whatever.
yeah, so let me explain about this. So okay, so your Commanders came off a tough, devastating loss to the Giants. Yeah, I know.
That was putrid. They
Yeah.
were awful.
It was embarrassing to watch.
Yeah.
G-Man Dexter Lawrence was all over Sam Howell. They couldn't even get anything going. And I know the perspective. And yes, we know it was hard to stop Saquon Barkley. They didn't start Daniel Jones. And Saquon Barkley was unstoppable, and he was that good for a reason. And he was just one of the best players on the team. The Giants were like 1-5 at the time, and they were one of the worst teams in that division and maybe the league, but they still found a way to win, which I find it devastating for you Commanders fans because after that after that tough loss game was over, I don't know if you were able to see it, Mike, but I don't know if you were able, if you were able to catch the if you were able to want to get your thoughts on that, Mike, is that if you were able to catch Jonathan Allen's post game comments by one of the local TV reporters saying that he used a bunch of swear words and because he was not happy and he was just embarrassed and he was just not that happy and he was just he was mad and he just didn't didn't have a great look in his face and yeah and then after that interview was over, he says he wants to play the Philadelphia Eagles and Mike, I don't know
The blank Eagles.
Yeah,
I like it.
yeah. So right. So Mike, what Mike, what are your thoughts and reaction to that? For one of the for what Allen's post game conference was. What's your reaction to that?
Well, it's an emotional game. I'll probably just leave it at that.
On these comments.
If if he's
a lot of frustration,
you don't like it, just play better.
Well, there's a lot of frustration going on in DC right now.
Well, you got the worst offensive line in the league. So
but then I was also watching one of the local sports shows in DC saying that they should bench Sam Howell. Others saying they should stick with Sam Howell. I feel like there's going to be some mixed feelings for this team, but if Uncle Mike were to like answer the question for me, like would he bench Sam Howell or
Jackson? Is he ignoring the question?
Stop dodging the question, Uncle Mike.
Dodging the questions.
Well, with an offensive line that we have, I would stick with Howell because why get anybody else hurt?
Jeez.
So he's sticking with Howell. I told
Jackson, please don't broadcast this to Howell. Okay, make sure he doesn't hear this.
But
I know.
But there's a different matchup this week, and it's going to be down in Carolina. Bryce Young versus C.J. Stroud.
This is the game to decide who's going to be the success and who's going to be the bust.
Are the Panthers going to win their first game this weekend?
I don't know.
I think it's getting to the point where there's more fans going to the soccer games here than the football games. As Blake would say, there's more fans going to the football games than the football games here.
Yes, the real football down there in Charlotte. Yeah,
guys, what did y'all think about God, I don't know. Listen, the Panthers got no reason to lose. They're going to give up the first round pick, so they have absolutely no reason to lose. I mean, you would think they're going to dig in.
So does that make it worse? That means that they're trying as the hardest they can to win, but they just haven't been able to do it.
Hey, what did y'all think about the Phillies shutting down that red hot Miami Dolphins offense last week? That was a cool game.
Yeah, the Eagles. Yeah. That was impressive. That was impressive.
He can really make some plays that you think are going to go for a loss, turn them into a positive and sometimes a touchdown throw. He's pretty fun to watch.
I agree. I think he's, in terms of the top quarterbacks, I still think he's underrated in terms of quarterbacks that people talk about in terms of your Mahomes, your Burrows, your Herberts. I mean, Jalen Hurts has got a lot. I mean, he's right up there in terms of throwing ability and maneuverability in the pocket, and then you throw in his ability on the ground with obviously the big like the 4th and 1 push play is everyone's still talking about that. They're still trying to get it banned and all that.
I think Al Michaels loves saying tush push on air.
I don't get how can you get rid of a play where you just push somebody over the line? Like that's the whole point of football. So I think people that are trying to get that banned.
Well, they banned you can no longer throw the guy over the end zone.
And they're still doing it successfully.
I'll tell you what, if Mike wants to cheer for a team with electric football, he's only got to drive a little bit north of the Mason-Dixon line and watch the cheer for all Baltimore, and what Lamar Jackson's doing up there is pretty electric right now.
Yeah.
Well, which which he did last Sunday when they beat the what was the unbeaten top team Detroit Lions, which they no longer won a game last week. Now they have to play Monday Night Football this week against the Raiders after that. But good for Lamar, because I have him on my fantasy football team, and he has been
Well, pin a rose on your nose.
Jackson, how's that league going? Who's in the what are the current standings right now?
I don't know.
I got him here. It's I think all of us, Gerke started off a little rough, but I went from 0-3 and I've rebounded all the way to 4-3, which is surprisingly taking me all the way to second place, if you can believe that. On points, there's about half the league is 4-3/3-4, so there's a lot of competitiveness going on.
Is Mike in that league? Did Mike get the invite yet?
No, this is on my dad's side. So it's my dad and his brother and sister, and then all of the cousins and stuff
You
like
would think
that.
with all this time on Good Guy Sports, he'd have the invite. Maybe next year.
We should do a good. Now that you bring it up, we should do.
It would be easy money for the rest of the league.
Ooh, them fighting words.
Reverse trash talk.
Oh,
I think that's what you call psychological.
He's being modest. He's being modest.
That would be a great talk show right there.
Yeah, no, definitely. We should Good Guy Sports Fantasy League next year. Book it.
I think my dad's family would be all.
I'd love taking your guys' money.
There
we go.
Something.
Jack, is there a football game tonight?
There is. The Bills are taking on the Bucks tonight.
It's a fun game, actually.
In Buffalo, and I think Josh.
That's not a bad game.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen will find a way to bounce back, and they did. And they did lost the last two against Jaguars in London, and then the Patriots last week, which I gotta say is congratulations to Bill Belichick winning his 300th career win.
Wow.
Tying with the great Don Shula and George Halas as head coach. You got to give him a lot of credit, even though Bill Belichick didn't want to talk about it in his press conference. But Bill Belichick, he is right there with them, and I think he's going to be one of the greatest.
We're on to Miami
coaches of all time, and I give him a lot of respect, and he really deserved it, and that's what he did as a head coach. And for Bill Belichick, the greatest coaching career of the current NFL, and you got to love what he did, and I think that's what he's aiming for, and he got it done. And yes, Bill Belichick has got what he wanted, and he did it just like that. Great for the Patriots and Bill Belichick for him to get his career win. And I think that's great for them, even though the Patriots are not in the lead for the AFC East, but great for Belichick, and a great win for Bill Belichick and the Patriots organization. Great start for him, and a great accomplishment for what he did. Got to give him a lot of respect, and I think that he did just that, guys.
Quick question: the game tonight. Well said, Jack. Quick question: the quarterback for the hold on one second. We had a little horn in the background. Sorry. The quarterback tonight for Tampa Bay is did I see Baker Mayfield as their quarterback? Did I miss something?
Yeah, he's their quarterback this year. Yeah,
I completely missed that. I kind of done. I guess he left the Panthers and went down there.
Yeah, he's been bouncing around. So I think he started out with Carolina last year. They got rid of him, and then the Rams picked him up. He played a couple of games for them, and then he signed to be the starter in Tampa this year. So far, to mixed results from what I'm hearing.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, what they're 3-3 right now, so I don't think he's been terrible, but I don't think he's going to be the reason they make a push for the playoffs or anything like that. So that division is still wide open, and not because there are good teams in it, because there's a bunch of mediocre teams in New Orleans and Atlanta and Tampa fighting it out. So yeah, that'll be a tough one to call come the end of the season.
I heard Alabama's going to join that division.
They would wipe the floor with that division.
Mike, let me ask you one more question and about the baseball. Will Charlotte ever have a pro baseball team? And is the Knights Stadium, could they expand a AAA stadium into a pro stadium? Is that ever?
Well, I don't see baseball expanding anytime soon. I think the only way that Charlotte would get a team would be to have another team move there. The Rays would have been a likely pick, but the Rays have signed and they're going to be building a new stadium. Although our people are actually going to start showing up. So I don't think baseball is going to expand anytime soon. Has a probably just in the interim when a team has moved until they can build a new team, because most of those luxury suites, because that's where the big bucks are, and a AAA stadium's just not going to have those luxury suites. But that's why you're seeing all the new stadiums coming out. Interesting part is all those new stadiums, you're probably talking about capacity of 42, 45K, just to keep the ticket supplies down. They don't have these big huge municipal stadiums anymore that would seat 85, 90,000 people, because then people don't buy tickets in advance. But anyway, speaking of baseball, I want to give a shout out to Dusty Baker for his earned career, 26 years of managing teams in Major League Baseball. He announced his retirement, and I've always loved Dusty Baker, particularly when I found out that he was one of the inventors of the high five. So you gotta,
is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
And his career started out, he was a rookie when Hank Aaron was playing. So his career spans that whole time. So I would love to sit down with him and just hear all the stories that he could talk about. But anyway,
yeah, he's been a huge stalwart of the game for a long time, so he's definitely going to be a big miss for the league. But yeah, players and managers like that, there's not too many of them that have been connected to the game for that long and seen so much history. So yeah, best of luck to Dusty in his retirement.
And his son is in the Nationals farm system.
There you go.
He was the one that was a 3 or 4 year old that was in the playoffs when he was with the Giants. That was somebody pulled him away from a slide at home plate.
That's right. Yeah. There was the viral clip going around.
Yeah,
with
he is now in the Nationals farm system.
That's right. Things it's all a big cycle in baseball.
It is.
Yeah, and one thing to point out before we get ourselves started for the show about Baker is that it's not goodbye forever. It's just see you later. As I read one of the articles on ESPN,
well said.
He'll still be around the game. It's just not goodbye forever. Not a
absolutely
timer for good kind of thing. So he'll be around the game. It's just he's not going to be managing with the club, which makes a lot of sense to all of us.
Yeah, indeed. We wish him well.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Great way to close out the show. Great way to wrap us up here at Good Guys Sports. Blake Lumberger, Mike Roby, Blake Gerke, great to be with you. Enjoy the World Series and college football Saturday, and Mike, enjoy your sports weekend. Even though there'll be a bunch of Eagles green showing up at FedEx Field, but good luck with it. I'm not sure we'll
even still
about it next week in our reaction, because there's going to be a lot of takes. You'll have to stay tuned for it next week. But Mike, everybody, great to be with you, and I hope that you stay tuned when we talk about it together next week.
Great. Thanks, Jackson.
All right,
Go
Mike.
Commanders.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
We'll see.
Bye. Good night.
Bye. See you guys. Bye-bye. Take care.